Good morning. I'm Richard Kane, CEO of Verijet. Today I'm going to share our journey to transform aviation from unsafe, unsustainable, and unobtainable to safe, sustainable, obtainable, and personal. Please buckle your seatbelts. We're going to be talking about safety. So a runway incursion is simply when a pilot makes a wrong turn. And the most dangerous part of flying is actually taxiing on the ground, and people don't understand this. So this is Tenerife. One 747 made a wrong turn in the fog in front of another one. 583 souls were lost on the ground. And here we have a Delta Comair flight. Runways are identified by their compass heading. So this flight was cleared to runway 22. They instead lined up on runway 26. It's a 40-degree difference, and the runway was too short, and 40 lives were lost. And you think, how does this happen, right? So we're going to dig into this a bit. So here you have a runway diagram. These two runways are about 40 degrees apart. Notice the circle, and the HS means hotspot. This is a place where pilots have made mistakes. Well, how do we know this? We data mine these hotspots. There's a program with NASA which encourages pilots to confidentially, voluntarily report their mistakes. Compare this to medicine, where doctors are encouraged to hide their mistakes for fear of litigation. This is what drives aviation safety, the self-reporting mechanism, the data mining of that. This is Chicago O'Hare. On the left is a satellite view, on the right is the taxiway diagram. Note some of the hotspots. I've been there personally. I had an airliner make a wrong turn in front of me. I knew where I was on this field because our aircraft are equipped with systems that understand the taxiways. If I don't understand a clearance, I can replay it. Airline captains get very jealous when I show them that feature. I think we may just have to manually advance slides. Okay, here we go. So surface watch, safe taxi. My airplane also understands what runway I'm on, how many feet I need to take off, and if that runway is suitable. And so it catches all of these mistakes in a way that's transformative. We digitally transmit our flight plans. There's no keying errors to these things. Is everyone familiar with the accident that happened last week? Very high profile. Sadly, one of our speakers actually knows the woman. It's a loss of a family. This is a pilot incapacitation. If you're unfamiliar, a plane was heading towards Long Island, makes a mysterious U-turn, heads to Washington, D.C. 6 fighter aircraft were sent to intercept this aircraft, and they saw the pilot slumped over, unresponsive at the controls. And the plane continues on until it runs out of fuel and crashes. Many of you may know the Payne Stewart crash, very similar. The Learjet depressurized, loss of consciousness, the plane continues on until it's out of fuel. Well, at 40,000 feet, a young, healthy military pilot has 9 to 15 seconds of useful consciousness. At 30,000 feet, 1 to 2 minutes. But I'm going to make this a bit personal. That's the TBM I used to fly. I had a depressurization. I got my masks on in time. But another couple, the president and co-president of our users group for the TBM, both rated in the airplane, knew they had a problem, asked for a descent. ATC was a little slow. They lost consciousness. Their plane ran out of fuel and crashed off Jamaica, and they died in relative anonymity, whatever, because they're not famous, right? But this was personal for me. A Cirrus pilot. These planes are equipped with parachutes. He's flying along. He has a seizure. He feels dizzy. He goes numb. He pulls the parachute. He finds later that he has a brain tumor. They've removed the brain tumor. He bought another Cirrus. He's back flying again. He would not have survived in any other aircraft. These are the kind of safety systems that make this, improve what we're doing. In Florida, a passenger ended up landing a Cessna Caravan. The pilot had a cardiac issue. And if you have Prime, you can see Dennis Quaid and a dramatization, but the dramatization is of a miraculous true story where he landed the plane and saved his family. So wouldn't it be better if you just had the red easy button, safe return? Press it, our plane chooses not the closest runway, but the safest, automatically lands and calls for help. This is a very recurrent accident, and that's the answer to it. So Verijet pilots, all Verijet employees, also have Fountain Health. This is well care, not sick care. This is preventative medicine. We have an AI-based cardiac echo that detects future cardiac events much better than the industry standard of EKGs. We want to have the safest, healthiest pilots, team members. That's all part of this equation. We'll talk about spatial disorientation. So this is the JFK accident. If you want to understand what it was like to be JFK in the last 178 seconds of his life, Google that video, 178 seconds to live. It is visceral. You'll understand what it's like to be at the controls of a plane where you've lost orientation. Or more recently, Kobe, another spatial disorientation accident. But again, I'm going to make this personal. I took a light aircraft to Key West, came back night over water over Key Biscayne, checked the plane in. The next day, a young couple took the same airplane. He held down the transmit button while she screamed on the spiral into the water. I called the airport and I asked, hey, what happened? They said, Richard, we thought you were dead. And I said, no, I checked in the plane last night. This was pretty close for me. It left an impression. So I built a system that can recover a disoriented pilot's aircraft, had it patented. Descending from this is the blue level button that's on all of our planes that will recover a plane. And then our jets also have stability protection. They fight back. You cannot lose control of this jet. So again, technical solutions. Metal fatigue. This is Aloha 243. This is a mix of corrosion and metal fatigue. This also, yeah, here we go. In-flight breakups. These are a list of aircraft that hit turbulence, lost structural integrity, had decompression issues. You can fix these things. Build your fuselage out of carbon fiber. Build your wing spars out of carbon fiber. There's never been an in-flight breakup of a Cirrus. They've been in 24 years of production. We're corrosion-proof. We don't have C checks and D checks. It takes all the cost out and improves the safety of these operations. So this beautiful three-engine jet, I want you to think of this, if you remembered nothing else from this presentation, think of those as three-bird vacuum cleaners. This happens all the time. The first bird strike incident was actually with the first airplane in 1905, flown by Orville Wright. A few years later, you have the first fatality. Carl's got a seagull tangled in his control cables. You all know the miracle on the Hudson. I know the crew. Sully was a glider pilot. It had a better outcome. He had 2 engines. Well, okay, 2 engines get taken out by birds. What if you had 4 engines? So in his 2-engine aircraft, he takes off, and 4 minutes later, he's in the Hudson. This 4-engine aircraft, same situation, and this is a loss of life accident. This is an Eastern flight. Okay, let's go with next slide, please. There we go. So 4 engines. So the losses are estimated by the FAA at $500 million a year. Let's put a number on it. 292 human fatalities over about a decade, 327 injuries, 271 aircraft lost, 150,000 wildlife strikes. Well, what can you do about this? You can put one single engine dorsal. You can put it behind the canopy. The air acts as an inertial separator, limits bird ingestion, makes it essentially bird-proof. But wait, did he say one engine? Well, Charles Lindbergh, to win the Orteig Prize, understood that one engine, one pilot would triple his range. 8 teams competed against him with 2 and 3 engines, 2 and 3 pilots. Many of them didn't survive. Charles went on to create the trillion-dollar private jet industry, right? Also, our machines are gliders. They have a 14.7 to 1 glide ratio. They're better gliders than normal gliders. When we're over Nassau, Bahamas, we can glide to any airport in the Bahamas based on fuel price if we want. This is why we're able to go nonstop from Miami to the Tortola, British Virgin Islands. So this is an actual incident This is an engine failure due to fuel contamination. Turned out not to be the engine. This is our pilot gliding into an airport in North Georgia. You see those circles. He had to circle 6 times to lose altitude. You see the fire department on the ground. They're there because they had time to get there. And they say,
"Damn, he dead stick that in."
"Damn, he dead stick that in." And the next guy says, "That's crazy." And I've demonstrated this to insurance companies, and afterwards they quadrupled our insurance limits. This is a engine failure in a single engine passenger jet, and nothing happened. The NTSB they're okay with it because there's no damage to the plane. It wasn't an uncontained rotor failure. This is something new in the world. It's a hyper-efficient jet glider. The other 3% of the animal strikes are deer, coyotes. Alaska Airlines hit a bear. The bear died, the bear cub survived. And now you're thinking, okay, what is he going to do to prevent this, right? Well, our planes have forward-looking infrared. They can see in the dark, they can see the body heat of an animal on a cold runway from 2 miles. We can prevent these kind of accidents. Mid-air collisions. So this machine is in the Smithsonian. The co-founder of Cirrus had a mid-air collision. He almost died, the other people did. He set out on a life journey to make aviation safer. That's why we have parachutes in these airplanes. This is a quote from one of our investors, one of our meetings recently. Why the F wouldn't you fly the plane with a parachute, right? I mean, come on. Or what Cirrus says is, shoot happens, live with it. I mean, it just, let's change this up, right? So this is a mid-air collision that happened last year. Guess what? There's no injuries. The Cirrus pulled the parachute. The airliner was able to land. The fire department and the police were blown away. They respond to a mid-air collision. There's no injuries. Controlled flight into terrain. Sadly, this happens all the time. You can find 56 pages on Wikipedia about this. Notice a bunch of airliners. We have terrain avoidance and warning TAWS. It prevents those kind of accidents. Our flight deck, it's engineered to reduce pilot fatigue and workload. You're less likely to make a wrong turn on a runway if you're not exhausted, and this machine takes care of it. So where we're going is a flight crew that's 1 dog and 1 pilot. The pilot's there to feed the dog. The dog's there to bite the pilot if he touches anything. And this is the workload reduction, right? And this is where it's going. I mean, our plane can already land itself autonomously. It also corrects our errors. Most crashes are pilot error, more than 90%. We have an AI babysitter. Our instruments are digital. They have millions of hours mean time between failure. They used to be spinning mechanical gyros, would fail all the time. All right, let's make this sustainable. This is EBASE at Geneva. Protesters jumped the gates, chained themselves to the airplanes. This is getting real. If we want the privilege to fly, we got to decarbonize. So the machines that we fly are radically efficient. I'm on the board of the Lindbergh Foundation. Eric Lindbergh's on our board. Together, we created the Forever Flight Alliance to decarbonize aviation. We are currently carbon neutral with 4Air, but tomorrow we're going to be carbon zero with fuel that, if it's made from clean electricity, is purely carbon zero. First plant's going next to Niagara Falls. Our machines are quiet. The V-tail reflects the noise up and away. The engine is small and quiet. We're 50 decibels quieter than stage 4 noise requirements. The most noise-sensitive airports in the world welcome us. And I personally hold the world closed course distance in aircraft. It was one of the most memorable aviation records for 2021, according to NAA. I was burning 39 gallons an hour during that record attempt. That's more like an SUV than a jet. It's a remarkably efficient machine. So if you took our jet from Santa Monica to Las Vegas instead of some of these others, you're saving 200 to 500 gallons, 1/5 to 1/9 the fuel burn. When you look at the 100 short-haul routes in the US, the top one being Van Nuys to Las Vegas, it's 441,000 flight hours. If you used the right machine for the job, our machine, you would save 2.1 billion pounds of carbon footprint annually. So let's use the right tool for the job. We're also on a path to electrify this. Let's just go carbon zero. This machine is 1,000 times safer than a helicopter. If all goes to plan, we'll be here for the 2028 Olympics, moving people to the venues. So we're on this path to optimize using AI. That's my expertise. Use the machines you have efficiently. Right size, use the right tool for the job, save 2 billion of carbon footprint. Go to sustainable aviation fuel, carbon zero, and then electrify. The industry's goal is 050, to have zero emissions in the year 2050. Verijet should be able to make it by 2030. Our mission: to be the safest, most efficient airline on and for the planet, to triple the speed of short haul, to do that in perfect safety with reduced carbon and noise. We deliver on all fronts. The basic plan: don't connect through these hubs of misery. Use 5,400 airports, less than 1% utilized. When you fly within these circles, you're flying direct and saving amounts of time. Don't go to the big airport and connect. Your door-to-door speed is 75 miles an hour. Go to the small airport, fly directly. Your door-to-door speed is 400 miles an hour. And this is how we are going to transform aviation. So safe, personal, sustainable, obtainable to everybody, because we've reduced the price point. Thank you for your time today.